What's going on, G1s? Tom the Iron Man here, and had the last TexaVlog for my Texas vacation. It's unreal at how fast time flies when you're far, far away from all the stresses and anxieties that you have to deal with back home. Everyone's living situation is different, and sometimes a vacation is an escape that you give yourself to get away from all those things. Outside of my cats and doing the showgram, I don't have a whole lot to look forward to when I get back home, because I really don't care for my job. It's grown to be something that I've intensely disliked, and I've got to improve my living situation. The roof over my head may not be there by this time next year. I have to start thinking about moving. And only now that everything is winding down and coming to a close, does it all sort of catch up with me. I don't return to work till Friday. I gave myself an extra day to decompress once I've settled back in at home. It's 11:30 Central Time right now, 12:30 back home, and I'm just sitting here with all of my thoughts regarding what happened on my last day here. And let's go through it. Maybe we'll feel better by the end of it rather than the way I'm feeling right now. So it started with me getting up at 8 o'clock, like I normally do, and feeling pretty good. And went ahead, got the inconsistent Wi-Fi that is provided with the room to work, and started getting caught up on Twitter and just checking in with things. Because while I was down at the Texas Shindig, I really wasn't keeping up with what was going on to Twitter. I was certainly posting to Twitter, but I wasn't actually taking it in of any information. And the only thing that I know that's going on right now is that apparently Donald Trump Jr. Just delivered the smoking gun in terms of this Russia investigation. Oops. Oh well, don't care. He set himself up for disaster, and so will his father. So it is what it is. Not to get political, it's just that when you do stupid things and you're in a position of power, you're going to get caught. Moving along, Red Robe shortly went live with the G1 Wrestling Universe, and I knew there were a couple of things that I wanted to get to, and normally his broadcasts run about 3 hours, so I figured I will watch that when I get home, because I need to, get myself in gear. And it just took me a lot longer to get going, so I probably could have stayed and watched that, but I'll watch it when I get home. So I actually didn't get up and get out of the room until about noon. So that was a good 4 hours of just waking up and moving. Shouldn't have taken me that long, and yet it did. But the main plan for today was to go around to various spots within Louisville that have had significant parts in Screw Attack history and film them. And I wanted to go hit up the old HQ, version 1, the back lot, where a lot of the exterior clip of the weeks were filmed, and version 2 HQ, its back lot, and Nick's Pizzeria, Rosa's Tacos, the playground where the salsa eating challenge was filmed, version 3 HQ, and I think that was it. And after a little help from Craig, I got the address of where the original salsa eating challenge was, and all I'm going to say was it's an elementary school playground, and it's probably for the best that I did it when I did it, because it's the summertime and the living is easy and no one was there, which is good. The last thing you need is a 35-year-old man with a camera going to a playground. That doesn't sound creepy at all. But once I got there, I quickly ran into a problem. I was having a great deal of difficulty framing the shots that I wanted. And then I quickly realized I've bitten off more than I can chew, and this is a two-person job. I would have loved to have had Shelby there as my camera woman, but she was at work, and it just wasn't going to be possible, and I didn't know anybody else who was going to be able to come out there on such short notice. So, should I come down for the Texas Shindig again next year? And word on the street is they've moved it to August. Interesting. Gives me more time to prepare, though, if I do elect to come back. But I'm gonna have to plan better, because that wasn't gonna work. Not gonna work at all. It's a two-person job. There's no way around it. Someone needs to be able to hold and move the camera while I am in front of the camera talking, directing, and pointing. So that was unfortunate. I did get some very, very rough footage of the playground. So that way, if something does happen between now and next year, I've at least got something. And that I can also say that I've actually been on the grounds where the salsa eating challenge happened. I've been to the other locations before, and it was either 2 years ago or the year before that. I've got some very windy footage of me being in front of the old HQ version 1 well before anybody moved into it. It was a vacant lot for many, many years after they moved out. So that took me up till about 3 o'clock, and I was feeling a bit peckish by that point. I wanted to get. I was thinking about going to the video game museum in Frisco, and I wanted to at least check into there and take a look at it. Because we were very lucky to have the art of video games exhibit at the Smithsonian in DC. So the fact that they were actually having another exhibit anywhere in this country to celebrate the medium was extremely important to me. Like I said in another vlog, that the VIP party for SGC 2015 was held at this place before it was even opened. And I wanted to go and check the place out because, like I said, anybody that is doing something to celebrate and preserve the medium is important and deserves my attention. So it was getting on towards 3 o'clock, and Shelby and I originally were going to go there, but they were only open till 5 during the week, which is not terribly convenient. So I decided to go ahead and get some lunch, and I went to Nick's Pizza, which I have not had since SGC 2010. I had a wonderful calzone that was so massively large it lasted me 2 days, and it wasn't a lot of money. But the nice thing about Nick's Pizza is they do, your Italian baked dishes, the pasta, but they also do pizza by the slice. And I'm a stupid idiot because I got 2 slices when I really only needed 1. That was way too much food. Yeah, especially with my new diet. Not the smartest thing in the world. I really should have only gotten 1. If you're still hungry afterwards, then you can order another one. But, that was an extra $5 I'm never going to get back. But the pizza was delicious, and the slices are cartoon sized, so you can fold them and eat them properly. That's the way pizza should be. Unless if it's deep dish, then that's a different beast altogether, and there's only one way to eat that. So, got there, drove down to Frisco, went to check out the exhibit, got some pictures, but I didn't spend enough time there. Like I said, they closed at 5. So I only got a handful of pictures in there and really didn't get a chance to really absorb and take in the exhibit. The one thing that is really cool, though, with the admission, you get 4 tokens for the arcade. And there is an arcade that but only takes tokens. And there's a change machine in the back to do that. And I spent some tokens. I did... goodness gracious, what was the first one that I played? I can't remember. I played Donkey Kong. Oh, that's what I was. It was Donkey Kong, Asteroids, and the Star Wars arcade game, Vector Graphics. Not the Star Wars trilogy, the original Star Wars arcade. And I got through the first loop of Donkey Kong, which I was very proud of. Totally shat the bed in asteroids and died within seconds. For some reason, I don't remember being controlled exclusively with push buttons. I thought I remember there being a joystick. Maybe that was a different version, but this one was original copyright 1979, so this was an original run. Atari's most successful game ever. But the Star Wars arcade game, I've played it a couple of different times in my life, but whoever took care of this one, or maybe they put a brand new CRT in it, it was dazzling. That is the brightest I've ever seen a vector graphics arcade game ever be. And I did amazingly well. I got through the first and second runs of the Death Star. It was only on the third one, the hardest difficulty, when I got to the surface run. The amount of projectiles coming at you are just so numerous. You are spending, honestly, more time shooting down the incoming enemy fire than you are actually shooting at the actual targets themselves. So I wasn't even mad about that. I didn't place a high score, but that's not what matters. So I would really, really like to go back with Shelby, because to best of my knowledge, she hasn't been there. And really take the time to go through it, room by room, step by step, and really soak in the history. And I asked the guy at the thing, they allow photography and video. So I definitely like to do a video, because she's on point when it comes. She understands what needs to be filmed and what needs to be framed. She understands all that. So she is absolutely indispensable. Somebody should hire her. If you need someone who can run a camera or edit a video, reach out to Shelby Easton at RuCrow on Twitter. Hire that woman, please. She gets it. And when I say get, I hope you understand what I mean when I say get. So, moving along, it was getting towards 5 o'clock at this point, and I ran across the thing about the Video Game Museum. Like I said, it's in Frisco, which puts it in close proximity to the Embassy Suites where SGC 2015 was held. But right across the street from that is the Frisco Mall, and inside that mall was a CDX. And like I said, I struck out finding anything video game related to bring home with me. So I wanted to go and head over to the CDX and see if they had anything that I was interested in, something that I could bring back home. And I'm 0 for 12 on finding retro stuff. Man, when you've been doing it as long as I have, and I know I said this in a previous video, you're getting to the point where you're just trying to either find better versions of the games you already have, like box versions and manuals and such, or you're looking for the rare, obscure, and exotic. And finding those unicorns is getting harder and harder and harder. So it is what it is. And it was about that time Shelby called me, said, "What do you want to do for the rest of the night?" She had a root canal done today, so I really didn't know how good in shape she was going to be. And she sounded just like herself. So apparently she got through it with flying colors. And she said it didn't hurt as much as she was expecting it to. Because I honestly thought they were going to send her home. Excuse me. She had some dental work done last week, and they only gave her like 800 milligrams of ibuprofen. When I had my wisdom teeth pulled, they gave me Vicodin and the Tylenol with the codeine in it. I was expecting them to give her at least that much. They did not. But apparently they did a masterful job of her root canal, that she was able to, even when we went out to dinner, said she was able to chew on that side of her mouth without any problem. Good job, dental office. And we were trying to figure out what we were going to do for food. But before that, she said she was going to go Craigslist apartment hunting. And she wanted to know if I could tag along. And I said I'd absolutely be delighted to do so, because I might be in the same position before too long. You know, help your friends when you can. And the place that she forwarded to me sounded very good on paper. The guy was willing to meet that day. And we pulled up into the lot, and The apartments themselves from the exterior looked big enough, but the interior was going to be the big question. And when we pulled into the lot, there was just a lot of people running around, hanging together in groups, and it didn't look unsavory, but it looked a little out of sorts. And when she tried calling the guy, his phone immediately went to voicemail. So she said nuts to that. And we decided to go ahead and get dinner instead. And dinner, to cap off everything, I came in and the first thing I had was steak and shake. And the last thing I'm going to have was steak and shake. Went in there. I had the jalapeno crunch when I came in. I had the Prince of Royale on my way out. And I got mad kudos from Shelby because the Prince of Royal is a steak burger with bacon with a fried egg. I love that because, you know, as if there wasn't enough protein in having a burger patty made out of steak meat, then having bacon and then putting a fried egg on top of it. So got that and a strawberry, the chocolate covered strawberry milkshake, wonderfully diabetically delicious. Totally inhaled those, but I was still feeling kind of full from lunch, so I didn't have the fries. So I put them in a to-go box, and boy, did they fill the car with a wonderful aroma because I spring on my fries, man. I get the Parmesan garlic dusting on them to make them taste super duper good. Like I said, that made the car smell really, really good afterwards. And after that, she said, you know, like, to try to assist me in my retro hunting, there was a movie trading company nearby. I said, let's just go in there and check it out. And they had a fairly respectable assortment of SNES, Genesis games, and all that fun stuff. They had both versions of Super Mario All-Stars, which was very cool. Not many people know that there's a second version. I didn't even know there was one until about 10 years ago. Then they had Shatterhand, which was also very cool. These are all games that I have. And then there was one called Ninja Warrior by Taito. At least that's what I think it was called. And it was $120. And if it's the game that I'm thinking it is, it might have been a Blockbuster exclusive. But I will have to look it up on YouTube and find out. A game that expensive could very well still be there by this time next year, and hopefully I will be in a better financial position to actually entertain the idea of being able to get a game of that caliber, because like I dropped $400 on Space Megaforce last year, but you know, that's because I was in a different financial place. I was barely squeaking by this visitation, so it is what it is. She ended up getting a couple of CDs, Deftones, a couple of their albums, and they actually had we had spent a great deal of time talking about Radiohead yesterday evening. It was just the darndest thing just to see a Radiohead album on vinyl, and she was just going through, this is a good song, this is a good song, this is a fucking great good song, you know, like all this stuff. So that was cool to have that little follow-up moment to a previous conversation. And that led us to heading on out and going towards the Grapevine Mall, where Round 1 arcade is. And it's bowling, it's billiards, it's karaoke, and it's arcade games. And it's one of those ones where you have the play card, you go and you load it full of money, and then you go out and you do your thing. And we played a great deal of stuff. We were walking around and she said, do you want to play some fighting games? I'm like, heck yes, I do. And they had Tatsunoko versus Capcom. They had BlazBlue. They had Guilty Gear. They had Ultra Street Fighter 4. A whole bunch of stuff. But they had Marvel versus Capcom 2. I love Marvel versus Capcom 2. Out of all of the fighting games that Capcom's produced, it's probably my number 2. Was Third Strike being number 1, and I played a fair bit of Third Strike down at the Texas Shindig, so getting a chance to spend some time with Marvel was great. it was Shelby decided to go and saddle up and try to take her hand at me. I used my usual team of Sakura, Venom, and Iron Man. She had Spider-Man, Venom, and I can't even remember who it was. But I did my usual thing that I transformed Sakura into Sunburnt Sakura or Demon Sakura or whatever you would call it. And I actually managed to get the Raging Demon off. Rest in peace, Shelby's Spider-Man. A nice crispy plate of bacon was served. And as soon as the match was over, I ran over and I hugged her and said, "I'm sorry!" But she put up a magnificent fight. Everybody on my team sustained a healthy amount of damage. So she definitely put a lot of ferocity into her bout. And then after she left, she went to go play the little coin collector games while I continued to play Marvel till I got a game over. And much to my total surprise, I actually ran the full gauntlet and got all the way to Abyss and beat him. I lost Venom along the way. He took a ton of damage from Abyss's second form, and I couldn't get him to tap out fast enough to switch to Iron Man. But it came down to Iron Man and Sakura against Abyss. And I was able to, it turns out, Sakura's super, where she does the 45-degree Hadoken, very useful against Abyss, because you got to shoot that little spherical thing that's flying around the room. And her, like, Iron Man's proton cannon is wide enough that it will hit it, and hit it multiple times, but Sakura, if you have it lined up properly, all of those fireballs will hit and will do a ton of damage. So that actually worked out well. And I got the highest score. I tried to get a picture, but the camera couldn't focus fast enough, so it was super bleached out. But I was number one for arcade mode by a good 300,000 points to the next closest guy. And I was going to put in TMH, but I accidentally missed it. I hit TO, so I put in Tom instead. But the high scoreboard doesn't show in demo mode. It only shows the versus wins, and I thought that was lame, but whatever. It's like, yeah, I beat Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in arcade mode. At an arcade. Off a single credit. Yeah! So that was cool. After that, I met up with her, and Shelby showed me her favorite game in there, which is Musica by Konami. It is kind of like Beatmania, where you actually, like Beatmania meets amplitude or frequency. You've got the conveyor coming down with 5 different things coming down on top of it, and you can either the icons are like diamonds, and you smack them when they line up on the conveyor, but there are also ones that are spin, so you actually spin the plates as well, and they actually spin clockwise or counterclockwise, and they go one way or the other. So there's that. And then there's a foot plate for like bass and stuff, and it's like way more coordination than I've got, but it was something else to see her doing it. So that was very cool. There was and I heard about this on Side Scrollers a long time ago, but there's a table flipping game where like you're an angry person at an angry situation, and you go ahead and you flip a table and you just see how much damage you can do, kind of like in Burnout's Crash mode. And it was really cool. We were watching a couple play, and they decided to leave. And Shelby was like, "Oh, this is the best. You're going to check it out." And the couple came back over and was like, "Here, play one on me just to see if you like it," which was incredibly nice of them. I played as this bride who was pissed off because one of the groomsmen was missing, and the whole wedding wasn't going well. So you flip the table, and the table, and the wedding cake went flying and took out everybody in the middle. And the table itself bounced off one of the waiters' heads and hit the back wall door, which revealed one of the groomsmen was macking on with one of the bridesmaids. Oh, God, it's a silly, cool game. So that was fun. Played Luigi's Mansion, the arcade game, which was an on-rails shooter, where you go back and forth from using the flashlight to expose the ghosts and then use the Poultry Gust 9000 to suck the ghosts in. Shelby was really good at that one. She outlasted me by a good 5 minutes. You can suck up coins for points, hearts for health, and he who gets most ghosts wins. That was cool. Then we played. It was like Aliens Colonial Marines game. That was neat, but it was really, really hard. Like really hard. I mean, that was crazy. I feel like I'm forgetting some other games that we played in there. But the one that was the silliest out of all of them, Taito back in the day made a game called Elevator. Oh, we played Mario Kart. Yeah, Mario Kart GX, the original. She totally beat my ass. Got in first place. It just zipped past me at the last second. It was crazy. But the back in the 80s on the NES, Taito released a game called Elevator Action, and they had another one. This new one, it was an on-rails shooter, Elevator Action Death Parade, and it's like Time Crisis, but instead of using like a riot shield, you use like elevator doors as your cover, and you can like these metal doors actually open and close in front of the screen, so you actually see the door closing, and then there's like a security camera that you see yourself in. It's just crazy, but it's like shooting bad dudes in like top secret briefcases to get like health and bonus points and grenade launchers, and it was just crazy. Look up videos for it on YouTube. Elevator Action Death Parade. Japan, you are crazy. So and that's where the evening wrapped up there. Went back to the motel room to hand off something to Shelby that I've been meaning to get to her for a little under a year at this point. I was having difficulties with the Elgato HD60S when it first came out, and it turns out that there was a driver issue. And at some point in time, Elgato actually sent me a second unit, and they never asked for it back, so I've actually had two HD60Ss in the living room studio for a while, and one was not getting used, so I felt it would be best to give it to her, and I, just for whatever reason, never got around to mailing it out to her. So actually being able to hand it off to her and knowing that she is going to put it to good use when she gets, like me, her living situation's in flux. And once it stabilizes and she starts streaming again, she's going to have the latest and greatest in game capture technology to ensure that our future broadcasts are going to be as dazzling as possible, completely free of lag. So that was it. And now we are back here for the final night. It's getting on towards midnight, and I got to get up at 4 to get to the airport by 5 to get my bags checked in by 5:30 to get to the terminal by 7:30. And then I hop on a plane and I go back to Virginia. And all the things that are waiting for me when I get back there. So Shelby has grown to be one of my closest friends. And while I hung out with a ton of people this weekend, it was hard to say goodbye to each and every one of them, because I don't like saying goodbye, even though everyone is one tweet away. In-person company is irreplaceable, but it's always the hardest to say goodbye to her. She has had such an incredibly positive impact on my life. I don't like not being around her, at the risk of using a double negative. So, it's tough, man. Damn it. So, Shelby, thank you for a wonderful evening, and the best way to end my stay in Texas in your company. So, thank you so much. And thank you to all the G1s who have been watching these vlogs since I touched down over a week ago. I know they've been running about a half an hour apiece, but I hope they've been entertaining and informative and an honest snapshot at everything that had been going on since I arrived. That if you wanted to make your way down to the Texas Shindig, you have an idea of what to expect, or if you wanted to, derp around in Dallas for a little bit like I do every year when I come down. Now now you might have an idea of what you would like to do. These are ideas, and these are candid feelings and conversations about all that. So I hope it's been entertaining as it has been informative. So that being said, I need to get my ass to bed. I'm really looking at probably a 4-hour nap, which is an hour more than I got when I first left. So it is what it is, and we will make do with what we've got. So that being said, I will probably call it right here and maybe do a final reflection and thoughts video when I get back home in Virginia. So that will do it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll catch up with you next time. Thank you, G1s, and we'll see you on the flip side. Good night.